YouTube, Niner Empire, what is going down? Welcome back to another video. So ESPN predicted Brock Purdy's contract extension with the 49ers this offseason, and it may not be exactly what some fans and people around the NFL think it will be. So Dan Graziano of ESPN recently projected contract figures for 10 upcoming free agents and extension eligible players, and amongst that list was Brock Purdy, who is expected to become the highest paid player in franchise history. And obviously the biggest question remains, where will he rank among the NFL's highest paid quarterbacks and highest paid players? So the ESPN analysts forecast a 4-year, $196 million contract for Brock Purdy with $112 million guaranteed, which is a significant increase, from his rookie contract as the last overall pick in the NFL draft. I mean, this guy went from making less than $1 million over his last 4 years in the NFL to potentially becoming one of the highest paid players in NFL history. So what Graziano wrote was the 49ers do not hold a fifth-year option on Purdy because he was not a first-round pick. So if he played out the 2025 season, he'd be either an unrestricted free agent or a franchise tag recipient in 2026, which would be much more likely than him becoming an unrestricted free agent. But we know what Purdy's done, right? He led the 49ers to 2 NFC championship games, 1 Super Bowl appearance, and, has been one of the top bargains of the, NFL over the past 3 years, really in the entire league. Obviously both sides agree that the time, has come for a raise. The 49ers need to pay Brock Purdy. What he's done for this team, his success with the team, he's earned a contract. And yeah, he didn't have, a massive year last year, but nobody on the 49ers did, right? Like, we dealt with injuries. We were probably, without a doubt, the most injured team in all of football. And here's another thing, too. Dan Graziano pointed out that the potential for a franchise tag in 2026 would give the 49ers leverage if Brock Purdy's camp pushes for a higher annual salary. But I think all in all, man, like, Purdy wants a contract extension done. The 49ers want a contract extension done. And obviously, Brock Purdy wants to make sure that, he can fully participate in the team's offseason program. He's already mentioned during the locker room cleanouts that he didn't want it to, be in the media a lot. He wanted to get it done quick, out of the way, and for him to get ready to get back to work for off-season programs and practices. So Graziano also said, some of the people I talked to expect that the framework would likely build out from the contract Daniel Jones signed with the Giants 2 years ago, which was a 4-year deal, $160 million with 81 of that guaranteed. He then added, but it would obviously be adjusted upward for inflation and based on superior performance. So again, I made a comment a couple days ago that the 49ers could pay Brock Purdy a little less than $50 million a year, but that contract could have incentives within the contract that would push him over the $50 million per year mark. So, I mean, and obviously we know what happened, or we know what was reported a couple days ago with Tim Kawakami of the San Francisco Standard saying that the 49ers don't anticipate drawn-out negotiations. And obviously the 49ers over the past couple of years have had, some dragged-out contract extension talks, and I think the 49ers don't want this to happen with Brock Purdy. But again, what Kawakami said a couple of days ago is, he heard from a plugged-in NFL source that there won't be any fireworks on the way to an eventual deal. Kawakami also mentioned that he heard that the framework of the contract could be different in a various number of ways compared to some of the other recent quarterback deals. So, I mean, obviously, Brock Purdy, if he were to get a $196 million contract, obviously that wouldn't put him anywhere near, the $60 million mark that Dak Prescott's getting. I mean, honestly, just to do the math here to see what this is exactly worth over the total of his contract. So you're looking at about $49 million per year with $196 million over 4 years. And again, $112 million of that would be guaranteed. And to be honest, I'm fine with this. I mean, do I think Brock Purdy's a $60 million quarterback? Absolutely not. I would not pay him $60 million. Do I think he's a $50 million quarterback? I think probably, right? Like, he's better than Tua Tagovailoa. He's better than Trevor Lawrence. Those guys are getting paid over $50 million. You could argue that he's better than Jared Goff. You could argue that he's better than Dak Prescott. In my opinion, he is. I'm taking Brock Purdy, every day that ends in Y over Dak Prescott. Obviously, we know what the Cowboys are, though. It's a dumpster fire organization over there in Dallas, and it will continue to be that until Jerry Jones sells the team. So it's not surprising that they paid a mid-average at best quarterback like Dak Prescott $60 million annually. A regular season wizard in Dak Prescott can't do anything in the playoffs. Brock Purdy's done things in the playoffs. He's won playoff games. He's taken his team to a Super Bowl. Prescott's getting paid $60 million a year to be either a non-playoff team or a first-round playoff exit. 49ers are smarter than that, right? Like, and here's another thing too, man, like with the T. Higgins situation, right? Like the 49ers have been linked to T. Higgins in free agency. I made a video on this a couple of days ago. If you guys haven't watched that, go check it out. Purdy is a player like Tom Brady was, and what I mean by that is in terms of him wanting to keep some of his weapons around him and to keep this team, at a Purdy wants to have a good roster. So, he's probably willing to take a little less from the 49ers in order to make some other contracts on the team work. And here's another thing, too. If T. Higgins has interest with the 49ers and they are in the sweepstakes of potentially signing him, which is the expectation, could Brock Purdy take a little less money knowing that he's going to get better if the team adds T. Higgins? So really, to summarize that, would Brock Purdy take less knowing that he would get better with T. Higgins to potentially make more, when that 4-year or 5-year deal, whatever he signs, whenever that first contract's over? It's not even that. Like, he wouldn't even have to probably wait. Like, if he's performing at a high level, the Niners get T. Higgins and, he's getting better because of this, they could restructure his contract. They could add raises on the contract. So it's just something to keep an eye out on. I mean, obviously, Purdy's going to be re-signed. The biggest question is what that number will be per year, what the length of the contract is going to be. And I could definitely see Purdy taking less money to keep talent around him, offensively and defensively, and obviously potentially even bring in some other free agents like Drew Dalman, center from the Atlanta Falcons, like T. Higgins, like DJ Reed. Maybe Solomon Thomas returns to the Niners to keep Dre Greenlaw. So definitely wouldn't be shocked if this contract for Brock Purdy is a little less than I think the initial thought was, because again, he wants this team to contend for Super Bowls. He wants to get back. He wants to win Super Bowls, and in order to do that, you got to have some team-friendly players on the 49ers, and I definitely think Brock Purdy's one of those players. Now, could he approach the 49ers and demand $60 million? Absolutely. The 49ers would almost be forced to pay him that. Do I think they would? Probably not. I think they'd find, a middle ground. But again, the way Purdy talks, the way he carries himself, the way he's talked about this contract, it does seem like he's willing to take a little less, and this is just kind of how I feel about it, but it does seem like he would be a player to take a little less to keep talent around him, offensively and defensively. And I'll be the first to say this: if I'm Brock Purdy, and Shanahan and Lynch come up to me and say, "Look, you're going to get a contract extension, but we also want to pay T. Higgins to help this offense out." If I'm Brock Purdy, I'm taking less money to sign T. Higgins to make me better, to potentially make more money down the line. It makes sense on both sides. So, again, $49 million per year annually for Brock Purdy. Again, it's a 4-year, $196 million contract that ESPN is projecting. And again, that is with $112 million guaranteed. So it's a massive contract. But again, it's, $49 million. It's probably about what Brock Purdy's worth, right? Like, I think you pay him $50 million. I mean, I think with some of the quarterbacks that are being paid $50 million, I think you got to pay Purdy $50 million if he wants it. But again, I think the 49ers could find a common ground here. Maybe they go with $48.5 to $49 million. Either way, he's going to get a contract done. And at this point in time, it's just a waiting game because, again, there are, it's going to be a situation where hopefully it doesn't take too long, but this negotiation part's probably going to take a minute. There's going to be a lot of different variables that go into this contract. There's probably going to be the 49ers are probably going to make it seem like it's a big contract, but when you really break it down, it's not. Or it could be the other way around. Maybe it looks like a smaller contract, but at the end of the day, when you break it down, it's big. So it's probably going to be one of those weird contracts. But either way, I'd expect the 49ers to pay Brock Purdy anywhere from $45 to, I would probably say, $52 million. What do I think he's going to get paid per year? I think this contract's going to be 4 years. And I think it's probably going to be anywhere from $48 to $52 million per year. The more I think about it, I think a 4-year contract for Brock Purdy is more likely than a 5-year. I'm open to a 5-year deal for Brock Purdy, but to me, it seems like it's going to be a 4-year deal, especially with the report of Tim Kawakami coming out and said that the 49ers could give him more of a shorter-termed, lesser guaranteed type of contract. If it's shorter term, I think the guarantees are probably at least $100 million. But what do I know? At this point, we're just kind of discussing what ESPN analysts think and all that of his contract. And again, at the end of the day, it's going to be similar to a 4-year, $196 million contract. It may be a little more. However, like I said, I do expect a 4-year deal for Brock Purdy. We will see what happens, though. But either way, it's going to be a significant increase from his rookie contract. So that's I think that's what we do know. But either way, let me know what you guys think of this in the comments down below. Do you guys think this contract prediction is going to be similar? Do you think Purdy's going to get more? I want to hear your guys' thoughts. Let me know in the comments down below. As always, go Niners. I'll see you guys in the next one.